The True Man's World arc from the 7th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Steel Ball Run, is one of the most beloved and critically acclaimed arcs in the series' entirety, and for good reason. Containing the fan-favorite minor villain, Ringo Roadagain, and the development to Gyro Zeppeli's character, finding the path to understanding and progression he so desperately desired, but only through the help of Ringo Roadagain, guiding Gyro on the path to the True Man's World, the world of Mandom. So to explain Mandom, let's first start with the stand's user, Ringo Roadagain. Ringo's namesake comes from two references, the first being Ringo Starr, the stage name of Richard Starkey, most famously known for being the drummer of the revolutionary rock and roll band The Beatles, and his surname Roadagain is in reference to the REO Speedwagon song Back on the Road Again. More often than not, the musical references which characters in JoJo are named after have a heavy influence on the characters themselves, with some arcs and entire characters being based off a song or album's lyrics, themes, or even cover art. And Ringo Roadagain is no exception. His design seems to be based off of Ringo Starr himself, with medium-length wavy hair and a mustache, and Roadagain being based off a song constantly having to leave everything behind, always being on the road, ties into Ringo's childhood. How his father, after being drafted and sent to war, tried to run away during battle, only to be captured and imprisoned, later dying of disease, leaving the Roadagain name branded as traitors, forcing Ringo's family, his mother and two sisters, to leave home and travel across the country, always on the road. But the most significant reference is in Ringo's stand ability's name, Mandom. The stand's name comes from the American country artist Jerry Wallace's single, Otoku no Sekai, literal translation being the world of the man, but its English title is Lovers of the World. And oddly enough, this single was originally only released in Japan in 1970, with the marketing campaign Mandom appearing in commercials and being the theme song for the brand Mandom, a line of male hygiene products. So what is Mandom? The common definition of Mandom is simply mankind, but when listening to the song Lovers of the World, the word Mandom takes on the definition of the literal translation of the song's original Japanese name, the world of the man. If you break the word up and look just at the suffix dom is added onto words to form a realm or domain. For example, freedom, the realm of freedom, wisdom, the domain of being wise, and so on. So Mandom is the realm of being a man, or a true man. And if you look at the lyrics of the world of the man, you can see that it praises Mandom and that all men should strive to achieve it, the world of the man, the true man's world. There's a place that is waiting for you, a world where the best in life is free, where time is always spring, happiness is king, the dreams you dream come true, when the one you love loves you, you're in Mandom. So in a sense, Ringo Roadagain's stand is the true man's world, being just another way of saying Mandom, and as Jerry Wallace portrays the true man's world, it makes everything in life better.
Music starts to play, night will turn to day. Darkness disappears when the one you love is near. You're in Mandom.
And when Ringo reached Mandom, or the true man's world, by having true murderous intent, ironically committing murder and killing a man to protect himself and his innocence, although he did lose his family, his life improved. As a child, Ringo had always been filled with uncertainties and been very physically weak, being easily injured and having difficulties breathing. But after breaking through the wall to the true man's world, Ringo's music started to play, his night turned to day, darkness disappeared. He was in Mandom. Ringo stopped bleeding immediately, his skin became flushed, he could breathe deep breaths like never before. It was a fair duel, with both participants having true murderous intent that brought Ringo to the true man's world, and the same that brought Gyro. So Ringo Roadagain's entire character is pretty much based off of his stand's musical reference, and even more connections between the world of the man and Ringo are his cowboy and western-esque design being based off of the single's cover, as well as the cover setting being a desert, and Ringo stated that he developed Mandom in a desert 3 years ago. So I draw a connection between these two because I don't see any other significance for him to mention the desert. And more to the actual history of the world of the man song, it kind of makes sense after looking at the lyrics why it was only released in Japan, and especially in 1970. Throughout history, Japanese men have never been known for their rapid procreation. And if you look at a chart of Japanese birth rates, in 1966 there was a sudden dip in the birth rate in Japan, averaging 1.5 children per woman, which at the time was below average, but now the average Japanese birth rate is only 1.4, even lower than in 1966. So with the Japanese birth rate suddenly dropping in 1966, this could have led to a spawn of very various marketing campaigns from cultures all around the world to increase the birth rate in Japan. And Jerry Wallace's Mandom is a prime example of procreation and masculinity propaganda, with lyrics like a world where the best in life is free, night will turn to day, darkness will disappear, happiness is Cain, the dreams you dream will come true, when the one you love loves you, you are in Mandom. So with this song only originally releasing in Japan and specifically being targeted towards the Japanese male audience, it's pretty much just telling them that if you love a woman, you will be a true man and everything will be better. And like I mentioned earlier, the song was used in a marketing campaign for a male hygiene line called Mandom, where in the commercials, it shows off a stereotypical manly man sporting a mustache and big muscles, dancing around in a very high-class and financially wealthy environment with the city skyline in the background, giving the impression that if you use this product, your life will be more like this man's, and maybe even that using this product would make you a true man. So now with the true man's world explained, we can explain the actual ability of Mandom. Mandom can rewind time for 6 seconds, no more, no less, but I'm sure you knew that much. Ringo states that he needs to turn his watch back manually in order to activate Mandom, but that's actually not the case. This physical trigger for Mandom to activate is actually just a limitation Ringo puts on himself to create a fair fight. The real trigger for Mandom is actually all psychological, that Ringo can activate instantly, but of course not during the 6-second cooldown period. And when time is rewinded, it is unnoticed and instant, meaning that no one can change their fate. Whatever you do in the 6-second period before Ringo rewinds is what you will do again. But of course, depending on how Ringo Roadagain will change his fate and react to the situation will depend on if you change yours as well. For example, Hot Pants attacks Ringo Roadagain, he gets his arm chopped off, and then he begins to rewind 6 seconds. Once the 6 seconds is rewounded, Hot Pants attacks again, doing the same thing, not changing her fate, but Ringo dodges the attack, thus changing Hot Pants' fate, because she will react to the situation differently with him now having dodged the attack. So as we know, all Ringo really cares about is a fair fight between two participants with true murderous intent, as well as becoming a better person and progressing as a person through this method, and maintaining the lifestyle of a true man within the true man's world. And Ringo mostly uses Mandom to keep his fights fair. As if he is in a duel and something unfair occurs, he will rewind and then avoid or interrupt the action to keep the fight fair. And as for Mandom being the only minor villain besides Another World Diego to have a time manipulation based ability, I think it actually works perfectly, as up until the True Man's World arc, Steel Ball Run was really Gyro's story and he was way more of a main character than Johnny's, so Ringo Roadagain was Gyro's main villain, as after this arc, everything shifted towards Johnny's story and focusing more on him as the main character. So for Ringo Roadagain and Mandom to be a time manipulation based ability, I see it more as a consistency rather than an inconsistency. And that, my friends, is Mandom, the True Man's World. There's a reason why the True Man's World is one of the most critically acclaimed arcs in JoJo. It's very fucking good, as well as Ringo Roadagain commonly being referred to as the greatest minor villain in the series. I hope this video gave you all a better understanding or a new appreciation for the arc. And with the idea of Mandom and the True Man's World already in your head before reading it, it can give you pretty much an entirely new perspective on the arc itself. So maybe consider going back and giving the arc a reread. Anyways guys, that's the video. Like if you enjoyed or if I fought your boredom, and of course subscribe for more videos. Thank you all for watching, and welcome to the True Man's World, the world of Mandom.
September, love was changing.